Hi everyone, this is Nikki Rowland and I have a layout to share today for GoGo Getaway. I made this layout for this recent sketch challenge for the Cybercrop, and I've used the Here and There collection by Simple Stories. Now this collection wouldn't be my normal collection to go for because it's got brown in it and it's just really not my colours. However, I picked it up and started using it, and I've now made so many layouts with it. I just find it really easy to create with, and I just love it. I really loved it. The colours initially didn't appeal to me, but when you look a bit closer at them, they're actually lovely, really lovely. So yeah. Anyway, you can see that I am working towards a sketch. I've just rough sketched it on paper for now, because I'm making this while I'm away from home, so I haven't got the ability to create the sketch where I was. So I just hand drew something on some paper and then I followed that. I knew I was going to work with this piece of paper with it had a big hole in the background, and I was going to cover up that middle hole and have as many of those beautiful stripes on display as possible. And I also knew I was going to work with some photo strips. Now I took my little one, my 4-year-old, coming up 5, for his passport renewal photos. So we went to a photo booth and took the photos, the top strip, and he's trying his hardest to not smile. So he actually has this real air of surprise about him, and his hair is flat and he's got a collar on, he's wearing a school uniform. And then the photos got rejected by the passport office because he had a light shining on one side of his face. It was a bit overexposed on one side. So he had to go back to the photo booth a few weeks later and have another go. And the bottom set of photos, if you zoom in, he looks like an entirely different child. He's relaxed, he's happy, he's sat there, he's got his shoulders down, his hair is slightly different, and he's kind of smiling. So he just looks completely different, and the photos were only taken 2 weeks apart. So I just thought they were a really funny little group of photos. And of course now, if you get your photos done at a photo booth, you just get a digital code on the photos themselves. You don't have to actually send the physical photos anywhere. So I've got the photos, and I'm a scrapbooker. So do I throw them away? I don't require them for his passport because it's all been done online. So what do I do with them? So I decided to scrap them, and I really liked the idea of keeping them in the photo strips and showing the little contrast between the two of them, and telling that story on this layout. So Here and There collection by Simple Stories was absolutely perfect. I've got my photos, I've trimmed them down a little bit. I have mounted them onto a dark pattern paper to make them stand out slightly. Very narrow border around both. That's obviously quite a large selection of a large area of photos for me. Normally I'd have a smaller area of photos than that. So I just felt that they needed something to make them stand out slightly, to show that they were two separate strips rather than one large area. So I've got it offset slightly from the white background, going over onto the beautiful stripes. And then I'm just going to create my embellishment clusters as per the sketch. So I had one top right, a tiny one at the bottom, and then a big one around or a bigger one around the photos. Now on my actual layout, it extends way further down than what it does on the sketch, but that's okay. Sketches are just a starting point, it's and say I then kind of made the sketch after I'd finished the layout, so I knew where I was going with this. I knew what I'd made, but I have stayed true to my original pencil sketch, which I did do before I'd made the layout. Okay, so I've got my title, which is quite a small title, underneath my photos. That's one of the what are they called, foam stickers, in the Simple Stories Here and There collection, and I've followed on with more of those. So the photo op is from those foam stickers as well, and then over on the right hand side I really wanted to use the big chipboard globe, and that's quite a big embellishment, so I was worried about where that would go on any other layout, but on this one it was kind of perfect because I had that big embellishment cluster all by itself up on that top right side. So I've started with the globe. That's the key with big embellishments, is start with the big ones and work around around them rather than try to fit them in as an afterthought, because then they never work. So I started with the globe, made it the main feature, tucked a few things behind it, and then I've got the travel the world triangle in front of it. It's a passport stamp, and that's all coming together really nicely. Add a few flowers and it's done. And over on the left hand side, lots and lots of flowers. I love the floral ephemera in this collection. It's stunning, actually. It's really, really lovely. Who would think that you would have flowers in kind of browny colours? But they're perfect. They're really lovely. They just add something extra to each little embellishment cluster that I use. I've made about 5 or 6 layouts with this collection now, and I have really, really enjoyed using it every single time, and I keep coming back to it. So considering, I say, initially it wasn't a collection that I would have been drawn to, I love it. So it's funny, isn't it? Sometimes you just have to go outside your comfort zone, and then you end up finding something you really like. So there you go. That's today's lesson. Try new things. Okay, so I'm carrying on. I'm adding, there's some, on my sketch, there's some journaling under the title. I'm kind of pulling that through with word strips at the moment. I do want to write on this layout. At this point in time, I haven't decided where my handwriting is going to go because the story is a reasonable length. So where do I put it? I was thinking about putting it on the stripes over on the right-hand side, but I was worried about losing the shape of the layout that way. So in the end, I do handwrite it under my title, but then that area with all the word strips under the title and my handwritten words under there as well, it ends up with looking like a really big kind of area. So ideally, it probably should have gone somewhere else, but that's where I ended up with it. So we'll just stick with that. Just adding in little bits and pieces now. I tend to distress the edge of most of the ephemera that I put in place. So I'm just doing that. I've just added some little geo tags, and I'm just constantly just going through these packs, finding things that work. Above the photos, I've got an aeroplane and clouds. I always feel that clouds should go at the top of a layout. Obviously it's an aeroplane flying, and these are passport photos, so that's kind of perfect. I'm just literally going through to see what else it is that I could use on this layout. So yeah, am I going to add some more? Probably add some decorative brads. I really enjoy those. They're always one of my go-to items in a Simple Stories collection. I just think they add a different texture, really, because they're shiny, aren't they? And they've got some metal on them and a gloss. So they just look very different to all the paper layers that I've already got in place. I've got chipboard on this layout. I've got foam on this layout. I've got enamel. Well, I will have, I think, enamel dots. No, I haven't. I've got just the decorative brads. So I've got lots of different things going on. I've got the photos themselves, which are different. So lots of different textures, and I do like to try and have my layouts to be full of interest like that. So yeah. Right, still going, just adding bits and pieces, making sure I'm happy with all my clusters. I need to get everything kind of stuck in place. Most of my little labels I tend to raise up on foam pads. Most of my ephemera I do raise on foam pads. I'm just adding the last bits that I haven't stuck already, just getting those stuck down now. I also tend to distress the edges of these little cardstock sticker labels, just because they sometimes have the edges from the other stickers on slightly different colours as well, so that helps with that. It covers up, distressing the edges covers a multitude of sins, doesn't it? So, so I tend to do that, and I do like to pop them up on foam pads to give them extra dimension. Okay, so just felt that little section over on the right hand side needed it needed extending down slightly, so I've just added another flower from the Flora Ephemera up there, and I really like that little ticket that says Adventure Starts Here, so I've added that over on the right side as well. I just felt that embellishment cluster wasn't quite finished, so I just wanted to add a couple little more things to that, extend it down a little bit and over to the right a little bit. Before I was completely happy with it, because of course the area where my photos are, the white part of the background is actually quite small, and a lot of the background is the stripes. Because I love the stripes, I wanted to make them a real feature. But do you know what? They were feeling a bit flat. I do like, as I say all the time, texture and dimension, and this is a paper that ordinarily I would have cut to pieces, cut into strips, and then distressed all the edges and stuck them all back together again. But I'd already made my layout. So I got to this point and I was like, oh, I really wish I'd done that. And I hadn't. So I was like, can I do it? The answer was yes, I could. So I snipped in between all of those stripes, and I spent a few minutes distressing the edges, and then I stuck the whole thing to a background, another piece of white paper, and then I'd ended up with the perfect background without actually having to cut all of those stripes into pieces, separate pieces. There we go. I'm so much happier with that, how it looks. It's just so much more me. I'm just folding up and distressing the in-between parts of those stripes. Yeah, really happy with how that's looking. I'm so pleased I made the decision to do that. I really ummed and ahed over it for a little while, but I'm delighted that I did actually take that risk and go ahead and do that. Right, and you can see that I've got my journaling in place now as well. It's just under the word destination. And now I'm just going to finish off with this few splatters of black paint. I think the black really contrasts and complements the colour tones in this collection. I started with some big splatters and then felt the need to come in with some smaller ones, more controlled with a little paintbrush. So there we go, all done. Thank you very much for joining me today. I really hope you enjoyed my sketch challenge if you took part in doing it during the Cybercrop, and that you were inspired by it. Was there something a little bit different with the photo strips? So yeah, thank you so much for joining me. That was Niki Rowland for GoGo Getaway Sketch Challenge using Simple Stories Here and There collection.